Hello and welcome to the Gone Traveling podcast, where we are looking at the road to greatness at the BKT EuroCup. With me, as always, is Sergio Llebres. Sergio, how are we doing this week?
Hi, David. Hi, everyone. Another great week of basketball, of European basketball, EuroCup. Always bring us excellent rounds. I think there's always some kind of record, some kind of surprise that we can talk about. Some youngster that shines a little bit, at least. So let's go into it because we have very few names to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. Still, the one remaining undefeated team, Valencia. Emotional return back home to La Fonteta, where you were actually for that game.
Yeah.
And we still have a winless team. Trefl Sopot was kind of beaten up a little bit by Hapoel Tel Aviv. But yeah, otherwise, yes, it's we're getting into some serious. We're almost at the halfway point, and we're getting some clarity as far as who's going to be playing for first, second place, or third place, and then who's going to be playing, sort of for those last spots. And let's just jump in. So, really quick update. So Group A, Badcesehir, 5 wins in a row, first place. And then it's Gran Canaria at 6-2, Hapoel Tel Aviv and Wolves are at 5-3. And then you have Valencia at 7-0 in Group B, and then the other two teams following them are Jerusalem and Borg at 6-2, 5-3. So let's start off. What's your game that you want to highlight?
I wanted to talk about mostly about Cluj victory against Letcavilis, but I wanted to mention something about Valencia. A nice, very tight that this team is going nuts, even though they have a lot of problems in these last weeks, but scoring like 5 times 100 points in 6 games, and the one that wasn't with 100 points was the visit to Aris in the midst of a tragic accident that isolated the city is incredible. And I have a lot of hopes in Bahcesehir to go deep in the
Yeah.
playoffs, so we can watch any type of matchup, because I think it's going to be an excellent matchup against between those teams, and going in Cluj victory.
Before, just because I mean
Yeah,
Valencia, I have two sets of 3 words. First 3 words, well-oiled machine.
yeah,
They won 2,909 points, as you said. But 3 more words. Rich get richer.
yeah.
Chris Jones is back. So if this
Like,
team wasn't strong enough already, now you get Chris Jones back. So yeah.
like the go-to guy in the perimeter offense.
Yeah, it's just kind of
It's going to be intriguing to see how he adapts to this new rhythm, because Valencia played a very low rhythm with Mumru, the national team coach of Germany right now. But
something tells me that
uh,
Mr. Jones will be just fine.
yeah, it's going to be more like a physical adaptation than a playing style adaptation, So I think it's going to be fine. Yeah, as you say.
All
Eh,
right. Cluj, Lead Cabela's
yeah, Cluj,
100 to 93 victory for Cluj. Go for it.
a 7 point game for Cluj that advances in the standings. They're now the Romanians with Venice are the only two teams that went up in the standings in the Group B, and they're now fourth. Remember, they didn't start in a very good mood, but now they're going they're getting better with Xavier Simpson going crazy with 32 points. If I'm not wrong, I think it's it's the record of the club in the EuroCup. So
Correct.
it, and and his performance, including 7 out of 11 two-pointers, and the most important part, 2 out of 13 free throw points were key. But I wanted to emphasize in Lietkavelli's work, because I think they're getting better and better, and we have to focus on them a little bit more, because they were like losing for 27 points, 25 points heading into the fourth quarter. And they had two youngsters, Matas Rustavicius and Oleg Kovlier, that led the offense. Georgios Kalaitzakis was also there, because between those three guys, they scored 31 points. 11 for Rustavicius in the fourth quarter. I mean, 11 for Rustavicius, 11 for Kovliar, 9 for Kalaitzakis, and Rustavicius went for 25 total, without missing any free throw. He made 9 out of 9, and they made a 42-point record in the fourth quarter. No team in the history of the EuroCup scored more points in a quarter, and they decided to make it real when they were losing by 25 heading to the fourth quarter. I think EuroCup gives us this type of storylines that are not behind any type of control. So it's very surprising, and we have to talk about, and we have to focus on every game, because you don't know what to expect.
It was a 27-point lead early in the fourth, and it was still 23 with 6 minutes left.
Yeah.
I watched the fourth quarter. I knew the result and everything else, and I watched the fourth quarter again, and you're like, they're not going to come back. They're not. How did they do this? How did they do this? Rustavicius was just fantastic. And they did it without their coach.
Yeah.
Sean
It was a-
was ejected in the third quarter, late in the third
exactly.
quarter. And yeah, I mean, they're at 2-5. They actually have the makeup game with Valencia. So okay, it's Valencia, so they're most likely going to be losing that game. So that
Yeah.
puts them at 2-6, which puts them at 2 games behind. Cedevita, Ankara, Cluj. Getting whenever you get into tiebreakers, if it's international competition, whenever you get into tiebreakers, the most important thing is to not lose by big margins. So they're only down by 7 points now to Cluj. If they get into a tiebreaker by Cluj may look back on this and say, man, we were up by 27 in the fourth quarter and we only won by 7, and that could put them in danger later on as far as tiebreakers. So yeah, Cluj, Lead Cabela's great effort, fun. Go back and watch it, but and I've also, of course, that was a meaningful game, for Stepanovic going back. He won 4 Romanian championships in his 4 years with Cluj, so it was pretty cool moment for him too. My game is take away Valencia, and the hottest team in this competition is Wolves. Oh
I knew you were talking about Wolves.
man,
Yeah.
5-game winning streak. They started the season with 3 losses, and then won 5 in a row. 3 of those games on the road. Those 3 road games at Joventut. They had the overtime win in Sopot, and then at Gran Canaria. They've won 7 games in a row total, including a game over Žalgiris. So they beat Žalgiris too. So don't forget about that. And Trento, they were in pretty good form. They had won 2 out of 3. Had beaten Tel Aviv and Joventut. Aaron Andrews, man, just went off fourth quarter, 14 of his 24 points, 4 3-pointers, and then the big jumper with 17 seconds to kind of put it away with five minutes left. I put in a question to Wolves, and Arnoldas Kaboka had actually a surgery about 4 weeks ago. They don't know when he's coming back. They say hopefully he returns to team practices next month. So, Kabolka, if he ever comes, is going to give them another really, really dangerous weapon on the outside to spread the floor and everything else. And one other point on this game was, must have been fun. A showdown for Sukauskas from Trento, who obviously played the first 2 years with Wolves, 21 points against his former team.
Yeah, they turn all the dynamic upside down. They were 0-3, now 5-3. A 0% percentage of win, and now they're 62% winning. So they are now in a very positive mood, and I think they're going to be well. I in the preview we talked about Wolves, and at least for me, I was very confident about them. I know they have the tools. I said that a couple of times, and it surprised me that they started with that very bad dynamic, and I think they deserve this, and they have the title of hottest team in the EuroCup right now, as you say. And
Besides Valencia.
yeah, besides Valencia is like other league. We don't talk about them.
Valencia doesn't count in anything.
Yeah, doesn't count because they are unfair. But now this streak by Wolves is really fair, I think. And
Okay, so you player you want to talk about? What do you
yeah,
got?
I have some players this round, but I wanted to focus on. I want to bring up the Georgian Gabi Chachashvili, the 24-year-old from Hapoel Jerusalem. Uh, Jerusalem won 86-77 to Burj. Burj got another loss, and this time it wasn't because of only Jared Harper. Harper was again phenomenal with 18 points and 9 assists. But Gabi Chachashvili made his career game. He set 9 different career highs against Wolves. So you can imagine how differential this game was for him and his short career because he was born on 2000. He had 20 points and 11 rebounds, and obviously earning a career high of 29 PIR. And the key point here is that Austin Wiley was diagnosed with a torn wrist tendon, and he was out of action for 3 months. And now there has been 2 games that Chachashvili started and had more minutes and had more time to show what he can do, and he passed from playing around 15 games to be on the court for 22 games against Venezia and 27.8 minutes against Burj, since Wiley was out, obviously, and he shot the same amount of shots in the last 2 games as his first 6 EuroCup games this season, and he made 10 out of 15, and this guy that has been a classic for the national team in the youth competitions. He went to Bros Bamberg in 2022 and came back last season to Israel, to Hapoel Jerusalem. Has a great opportunity here, and I think this is a great story to be with an eye on.
Yeah, I mean that was a huge game too. It was a battle of teams in looking for second place. Both teams were 5-2. Um, he had 8 of Jerusalem's 17 second chance points. Had offensive rebound tip-ins, and then three of those, and then also had two free throws after an offensive rebound. You mentioned, that he, made. So really, how? I mean, just to kind of put this in perspective, how unlikely was this? He scored 20 points in his first 7 games. He had 23 points. So it's actually not a career high. Career high. He actually scored 22 points
This is actually
for
his first.
Bamberg.
Yeah.
He actually scored 23 points for 22 points for Bamberg against Würzburg back in January 2023. So Yeah, but like you said, I mean, he's going to be needed, yeah. So huge victory for Jerusalem. Um, for my guy, I have Marko Simonovic.
Mhm.
You know, uh, there's been so much love for Badcesehir, and with Jalene Smith, with Panitka, Odiesi, Kavanaugh, Boutier, but
Yeah.
not even we haven't really even talked that much about Simonovic. He's only he's this last season. He actually was playing in the EuroLeague for the first 11 games, then I went to Besiktas. National team player for Montenegro, played at the World Cup. He's still only 25, and they beat Ulm. That was a dogfight with Ulm, and in my eyes, okay, Hazard scored 20 points. Panika, flirted with the triple double, but in my eyes, I don't think they necessarily win that game without Simonovic in that fourth quarter. 9 points, 3 rebounds, two big defensive rebounds. Um, in the final whatever 2 minutes. And so Simonovic 11 points, nine in the final quarter, and three of his five rebounds. So my guy is Marko Simonovic.
He does a little bit of everything, and everything he does is very decent.
He's averaging 11.6 points per game, 43% on three pointers,
Yeah,
and it's
uh,
just one shot a game or whatever.
exactly.
83% on free throws and 4.5 rebounds a
He,
game.
he, he could have more points, but his spot on the roster limit him a little bit. In that way, he plays a good amount of minutes, but in terms of offensive usage or volume or shots volume, it's obvious that he cannot have all the shots that he could, because he has a very good efficiency from the 3 point line, and also the 3 point line, and he has been very consistent. And I think this is a EuroLeague caliber player that is going to be in that league sooner or later.
Back in the EuroLeague.
Sorry, he was in
Yeah,
his
yeah, yeah, yeah,
red
yeah,
start.
yeah.
Yeah.
Played for Svezia last year for the first 11 games.
Yeah.
All right, so we also look at one guy that kind of surprises us. Your guy this week is
I was going to say that Chachashvili was my surprise, but I really got more surprised by Devon Dotson, I must say. So Devon Dotson is my surprise for this week, because he went off. He shut our mouths because we were talking very bad about Joventut and Devon Dotson mostly this season in the podcast, but at least me, we didn't have the feeling that they were having a good run. And now Dodson made his best game with Joventut with 26 points, and I think this is something that goes more in the direction that he emphasized more on scoring by his own, and not focusing that much in organizing the game. Once Guillem Vives or Alan Hanga stepped up to manage the Juventud offense, Devon Dotson had the opportunity to have 10 made 2 point. He had seven 2 pointers made out of 10 shots, so that was a very good point. And also he had 3 pointers, 3 3 pointers, sorry. So I think this is a inflection point maybe for a player that needed this type of game. And also I wanted to bring Devon Dotson to have this excuse to talk about Sam Decker, that he debuted in a win from Joventut against Buduknost. Sam Decker debuted and went back to EuroCup with Joventut, and he was with London Lions in and because of some budget restrictions, he couldn't play with the Lions. So Joventut gets the opportunity, and Decker is a very well-known player of this competition. He was in the second team 2 years ago, and yeah, he stepped up in two critical moments in the game later in the game. Uh, and he's going to be differential. In the first game, he had 20 points, and I think this is going to be a relief for players like Dotson, like Cassius Robertson, Tomic. They're going to have this go-to guy in critical moments, like he's shown in just his first game.
Yeah, so huge victory by Joventut.
Yeah,
They were at 2-5, and Budusnos was at 3-4. So they're both now at 3-5, right behind Besiktas and Ulm. Joventut only signed him until the 18th of December, so it's only
yeah,
basically a
1
month-long
month.
contract. They do have injuries with Gates, Rusic, and Allen. So it kind of remains to be seen how long he does stay. I imagine if he plays well, that they're really going to try to keep him. I did want to throw this out there. The final 30.7 seconds of the game, 30 seconds of the game took 23 minutes and 13 seconds.
Two,
Yes.
2 hours.
30 seconds was 13 minutes. There was a review of a foul, and then there were clock problems. 10 minutes after the foul was called, the guys were starting to warm up. And
Incredible.
then it was crazy. It took 14 minutes before play started again, and then there was another 9 minutes because there was timeouts, fouls, etc. Another review, maybe even two more reviews.
Yeah.
So 23 minutes for the final 30 seconds. So that was I saw it and I'm like, you know what? Let's just figure out how long it was. So total
2 hours and 15 minutes, I think it was the game. So this is
that's there's this guy on social media. I don't know if it was Instagram or wherever it was, and they break down the amount of time that's actually played. And so actually I kind of wish that he would do this one to see how long actually was played. So yeah, my surprise is uh Zsombor Maronka, 22-year-old Hungarian. Let's go. It all goes back to Joventut, right? He's actually on loan from Joventut. Played there, actually, came up with them in their youth system, played 21, 22, and then for the first half of the 23 season, and then went to Badalona. Last season was on loan at Neptunas, and now this season is on loan at Hamburg. This kind of gives us a reason to talk about Hamburg. Don't look now; they've won 2 out of 3, and they're still alive. A huge victory over Aris. Both teams are now 2-6, 2 games behind Cedevita, and Maronka. 12 points, 2 threes, four rebounds against Aris. He had 11 points in his first game and then didn't come back until last week. 13 minutes against Lead Cabelis. This is a guy that was really highly rated, even on some draft radars. And he was actually one of the guys I was really looking forward to seeing how he performs with a good amount of playing time, whatever. So it was really good to see him back on the court. Like I said, after that first game, he had 11 points, and then was kind of gone. He was injured, and so it was nice seeing him back. 12 points. Watch out for Zsombor Maronka, who I'm sure you've seen a time or two there at Joventut over the
yeah,
years.
24 points in 47 minutes played. It's amazing for this young guy, and he has made the same amount of threes that 2-point shots attempted. So we know what he can bring to the table, and we're lucky to have him back
Yeah,
because
and super, really high level talent.
yeah, Yeah, this is one of the guys to follow because since he was in youth teams in Joventut, you could see that he had a special talent, and he didn't have any type of um, I don't know how to say it, but he didn't keep anything by his own. He always tries to shoot that shot that many young guys maybe have the fear to shoot it. So I think he's a very talented and also very intelligent guy on the floor, and he has the potential to be always in the perfect place to have that shot that he always um, um, how do you say it, like he always trains. So and maybe we
Put
can go,
it,
yeah.
Putting all that together makes it even that much more of a surprise that Joventut didn't keep him. I mean, this is a club that
Yeah,
regularly brings up their own guys for years and years and years.
yeah.
They bring up their own guys, they let them play, and they let them develop. And he played 13 games in the Euro Cup before they said, "All right, go out on loan." Why is a guy like this? Why did they not keep him? He's still under contract with them, but why did they not let him, give him the playing time that they've given other players in the past?
You know, it's funny because this feeling that we have from Juventud are since guys like Pau Rivas, Guillem Vives, Enrique Rubio, Rudy Fernandez came up, and now these guys, Pau Rivas, Guillem Vives, that are 30 something years old, are keeping their place in the roster and their minutes, and youngsters that typically in Juventud would play are getting loaned to any other teams, and it's funny that the the players that show that Juventud looked for young talent are now denying in a sort of way minutes to these youngsters, but
Yeah, I mean, like and as I was saying, guys that they've allowed to play. Krag was in their youth, and he's on the team now.
yeah.
Berganda was there for years. They brought up Para. He's gone on to bigger and better things.
Mhm.
But you just look at all the former players. That they gave a chance to play. Brodzianski, Dmitrievich.
Maybe other one.
It okay, Garminda they brought in from Halamanis. All these guys that they brought in, and they brought in young or developed. It's sort of this amazing development program for really decades. And yet this is one guy that they kind of said, nope, go ahead, go somewhere else, and we'll send you on loan. All right. So usually at this point of the podcast, we would actually look ahead to the next round of games. But we actually don't have another round of action for 2 weeks. There's the FIBA window, and so actually round 9 is Thursday and Friday, not Tuesday, Wednesday, November 28 and 29. And so fear not, we are firm believers, and if you have a podcast, you should have it every week. And even though there's not going to be games next week, we're going to have just sort of a review of the first 8 rounds. Basically, it's the halfway point of the season, so we're gonna review the first 8 rounds of action next week. And maybe preview a little bit the FIBA window, because a lot of key players from the Euro Cup will be playing in there. So that is our show this week. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Sergio, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, Llebres 11, Llebres 11.
And I am at Hein News, HEINNEWS. Sergio, anything else you want to talk about?
No, just waiting for these FIBA windows because there has been a time since we have national team basketball and hoping to have some fun there. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. This has been the Gone Traveling Podcast. We are on the road to greatness. Round 8 is done and dusted. We will talk to you next week.